Never mind. I call to order this regular meeting of the Monument Board of Trustees, March 21st, 2022. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the republic which stands, one nation, justice for all. Ms. Hogan, will you take roll, please?
Mayor Wilson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott is noted absent. Trustee Clark is noted absent. Trustee LeKind?
Here.
Trustee Romanello is noted absent. Trustee Shaning?
Here.
Trustee Stevens?
Here. Okay, before us, we have an agenda and a consent agenda. Is there any modifications to the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan, will you take roll, please?
Trustee Shaning?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee LeKind?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
That motion passes 4-0. Item 3, Proclamation, National Library Week. Gene Carrier? At the podium, please.
Actually have the proclamation in front of me. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
Did you have anything you wanted to say about National Library Week?
I just thank you very much for putting us on the agenda. And I want to thank all of the residents of Monument and Palmer Lake for supporting the library in the ways that they have. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you. We decided not to use the proclamation provided and came up with our own proclamation. Trustee LeKind, would you read the proclamation, please?
Proclamation recognizing National Library Week, April 3rd through the 9th, 2022. Whereas libraries are a proud tradition of humanity with origins that date back to the 7th century BC and were established to capture research, protect advancements in knowledge, and preserve the legacy of human accomplishments. And whereas Benjamin Franklin established the first library in the New World in 1731, and libraries were greatly expanded by the 19th century American philanthropist and businessman Andrew Carnegie, who single-handedly funded 1,679 libraries in the United States. And whereas these Americans built these libraries because they understood giving every citizen access and the ability to educate themselves is essential to building and maintaining a healthy republic and a free society. And whereas libraries now also connect people to technology, providing access to broadband internet, computers, and other resources that are critical opportunities for advancing education and employment. And whereas libraries have long served as treasured institutions for all members of the community. And whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of, sorry, there's a typo in here, for the town of Monument proclaim National Library Week, April 3rd through the 9th, 2022. During this week, we encourage residents to visit Pikes Peak Library District in person or online, or in person again, to explore the resources available.
Thank you. Is there any qualms with this proclamation? Okay. Do you want to, you have some community members of the library here. Would you like to introduce them?
We have Aaron Salt, who is one of our Board of Trustees members. Scott Taylor, who is also one of our Board of Trustees members. John Spears, who's our CEO and Chief Librarian. Rich Peters is the head of our IT department.
Excellent. Thank you very much, ma'am. So done this day, the 21st of March, 2022. So be proclaimed. Ms. Hogan, will you fix those two typos and I will sign it again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4, presentation. Police Service Aid Program. Commander Lupton.
Good evening, everyone. Board of Trustees, Mayor, Town Manager, thank you very much for having us. What I wanted to do was give you a very quick overview of the Police Service Aid Program, what we're doing on behalf of Chief Hemingway today, and I wanted to go through that presentation for you here and see if I can. So pretty much what we had done was with the passing of 2F, you can go to the next slide for me. All right, so with Monument Police Department, we're very proud of what we have tried to do for so long with the resources that we had. We very much appreciate this community support in 2F of passing so that we could have a well-funded police department that could really build a foundation. And this is one of our first efforts to show to the public what we are trying to accomplish in some of the goals that this board has put together and the direction that the town of Monument wanted moving forward. So what we have up there on the screen is telling you thank you for what you did and then showing you our first presentation of the things that we want moving forward. All right, so the police service aid position is an entry-level position. The whole idea of this is that we're going to bring them in to do a few jobs. The first job that they are going to be doing is taking care of quartermaster duties, ordering of equipment, ordering of supplies, making sure we have a chain of being able to get things to keep our police department well equipped, having vehicles, making sure our fleet is maintained at a level so that we have very little go down, that they can do the quick running back and forth of the vehicles, that they'll keep up our uniforms, that we have consistent protective gear within the timelines that is supposed to be there. That's their quartermaster side of this. The code enforcement side of this is the thing that this board has asked us to do over the years. Is we have a lot of code enforcement things that we want to keep Monument adhered to. The problem is we haven't always had the resources to be able to go out, look for these things, adjust to those things, send letters to those things, or have conversations. And the new PSAs, their job, one of their police service aid jobs is going to become very critical, is conversations with the public of what the expectation of this town has in writing, and to be able to apply that out in the public so that people that haven't been aware of these things that were written in the code, in the municipal code, will then be told about it and have the opportunity to fix it. So we started sending out a few of those letters starting already. So I'm sure our board's going to start hearing about what is this from. And this is the first night that I could get here to educate you of it's coming. It's been here for a while. We just haven't been able to show people that we've been sending these letters and getting these things up to date, because we have a lot of those people who put in those notices that we're trying to pass on to other people. So the two PSAs that we hired are young. They just got out of getting their bachelor's degree in police management or police services or criminal justice. And what they ended up doing is they needed an entry-level job. Both of them want to be police officers. We are, like the rest of the United States, having a very difficult time hiring police officers, especially new officers coming in. So one of the philosophies from Chief Hemingway and some of the other agencies around us coming forward was to institute this police service aids. And what we are looking for is one of two things: either officers with a lot of experience who would like to do this after a full career and then want to do some of those superfluous duties of code enforcement and some of the quartermaster duties, or young and upcoming local residents who look to Monument as a long-term commitment, that they were born here, raised here in the Pikes Peak region, and that we are then forming them understanding what it's like to be a police service aide, getting their community involvement first, and each of them, if they are successful, would like to go forward at some point to become a police officer to serve Monument Police Department. So that's what we're doing, trying to move forward on this. What I want you to understand on this is that the police service aides are not a sworn officer. They are not going to carry guns, and they do not even have badges. They are simply a public servant. They are going to go out and have good conversations with people with no arrest authority. They will not be carrying anything except protective stuff. So they're literally going to have pepper spray on their belt and a radio. That we will have the police officers around to do police officer duties. These people are here to be community servants. And next slide for me. All right, so you can see the list of the things that they are been hired to do. They'll perform a lot of these different things: technical, clerical. Some of the clerical duties are, we have lots of forms and reports that have always been in paper form that we are trying to get digitized. It means a lot of monotonous copying and putting into PDF forms, building internal infrastructure for housing all those documents. And then they'll also be doing the community service functions along with our officers and many other aspects as well. But especially in the code things of our, excuse me, our sidewalks being cleared, making sure that we're not living in campers in the middle of the streets, things that would be of a concern for the community members of the town of Monument, that these people are out there looking for, removing signs and things that are not allowed that are posted on streets and those kinds of things. They pick up that kind of stuff as well. Reading through the code enforcement that is in place with the town of Monument, it's very robust. It just has not had the time or the expertise of people to go in and kind of share that with this community. And that's one of these main jobs. The career path for these people going forward is that this is going to be their advancement opportunity to get into law enforcement at a deeper level, should they choose that to move forward to become fully sworn police officers after a post academy that they could go through at the completion of about an 18-month program, where we would be looking to help them through that program should they continue with us through that going forward. Next slide for me. So this is our two that we just hired, Chrissy and Tommy. And Chris, they both request to be called Chrissy and Tommy. Just started with us this last week. Very eager, very excited to learn. Both have their bachelor's degrees and are already writing letters and helping learn and doing a lot of quartermaster duties, helping me with things of getting the administrative side of the house put together. Now, this is the very first slide you saw. We have a community service vehicle. That is not a new vehicle. This is a repurposed old police vehicle that we've used that's very high on mileage. That's probably not the one we want running down the streets in pursuit rated things anymore, but it is a fine vehicle for point A to point B, and we are trying to be very good stewards of the money that we have been given generously by this council and by the town of Monument and its residents. I think that's my last slide. This is my contact information. I am the commander over the administrative levels, so pretty much policy, finance, those things, trying to run that piece of this and giving you this presentation mainly so that the council members knew when people were saying all of a sudden we're doing some code enforcement. It's not new. It's just that we haven't ever put it in writing and given it to the residents of things that we're asking them to go and do. It does not mean that when you get a letter, they're also going to get great big fines and all these things. We have conversations with people. That's it. It starts the conversation. We've already had a couple of people who responded to us, and we're like, great. We appreciate the response, because what we want to do is change whatever the problem is moving forward so that we're all on the same page, and that they look at us as public stewards instead of public punishers. And that is exactly what we're trying to show, is these people entrusted us with a lot of power and authority over a lot of communities who are not as supportive of law enforcement. And we want to return that in kind to this board and to the citizens of Monument. If you have any questions for me.
Questions from the board? Well, thank you. I know we've discussed this program and similar programs in the past, and it's taken a long time to get them going. So I'm glad that we now have the avenue to get them going. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That takes us to item 5A, resolution approving preliminary and final planning PUD for Monument Junction. Ms. Flynn?
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. Tonight is for Monument Junction Phase 1 Preliminary Final PUD Plan. Monument Junction as a whole is situated on the east and west side of Jackson Creek Parkway. Phase 1 is located on the east side with State Highway to the north, Highway 105 to the north. On June 15th, 2020, the Board of Trustees approved the Village Sketch PD Plan, which is now Monument Junction. The approved Sketch PD Plan identified a mix of residential types and densities on the east side of Jackson Creek Parkway. Woodmore Water and Sanitation District will provide both water and wastewater services for all development within Monument Junction. Existing surrounding uses include the YMCA, Village Center at Woodmore Residential Subdivision, and the remainder of the undeveloped Monument Junction parcel on the west side of Jackson Creek Parkway. This preliminary final PUD plan consists of 204 residential units. There'll be 137 single-family detached lots. In Phase A, Res 1, there'll be 12 units. Phase A, Res 2, there'll be 46 units. And Phase B, Res 4, will be 79 units. And these units will be 4-square type homes with shared driveways. Each homeowner will be required to submit a driveway easement agreement to the town. And there will be 67 single-family attached lots in a duplex type style with a total of 204 residents. The applicant provided more park space than the 2.7 acres proposed in the approved sketch plan. They are providing a 3-acre park, 4.4 acres of open space, 0.95 miles of linear trails. Residential building heights will be 35 feet. The site is 39.837 acres in size, and there will be an on-site detention pond. Lewis Palmer School District requested fees in lieu rather than land dedication for this project. Classic Homes will be responsible for the proposed road improvements from Slopeside Street to State Highway 105 intersection. They will also be submitting a public improvement agreement as surety to the town, which will include the proposed road improvements. The road improvements will be phased. There will be 3 access points for this project. The first one is the required Norwood Drive connection, which was proposed in the sketch plan. The second access point is Fat Tire Drive, and this will be a 2-lane approach to allow left turn lane and shared through and right turn lane. And the third access point will be a full movement intersection at Slopeside Street. And this will be a 2-lane approach to allow left turn and shared through and right turn lanes. The town, the applicant, the county, and CDOT, and FHU, who is our design consultant, are all working together on the improvements at the 105 Jackson Creek Parkway intersection. Monument Junction Phase 1 is substantially compliant with the town's comprehensive plan and ensures that views, vistas, dark skies, environmentally sensitive areas, and open lands are integrated into the new development. It allows for a wider array of land use types to meet changing community needs, the variety of residential density types and lot sizes. It promotes infill development on vacant land. It would diversify land use in the town and provide much needed housing options. It provides a balance of live, work, and play environments. It provides a connection to parks, open space, and trails. There will be a centralized park area that will include a play area and looped trail and seating. Part of the trail will also connect to Lutheran Trinity Church, where they will have a proposed playground, and they had a ribbon cutting a few weeks ago for this playground. It will be for all residents within the town of Monument to enjoy. The Planning Commission voted 6-0 to approve this project, and staff recommends approval of Monument Junction Phase 1 Preliminary Final PUD Plan based on the findings that the preliminary final PUD plan is in conformance with the review and approval criteria in the Town of Monument's Land Development Code, sections 18.03-450D and 18.03-460D. And Andrea Barlow with NES is here to present the applicant's presentation tonight.
Good evening, Commissioners. Andrew Barlow with NES, here representing Classic Homes, who are the developer and applicant. Try not to repeat Debbie's information. I think you've got an idea of the location, just a bit of description of some of the land uses to the east. Particularly, we have the village estates at the northeast corner of the property, and monument villas to the east, as well as the church, and then village centre, residential on the east side in the south section of the property, and Woodmore Greens, which is in the county, on the south side. So we are just looking at the eastern portion of the Monument Junction property, east of Jackson Creek Parkway. Just a little bit of the past zoning. Originally, this property was zoned in its entirety PCD, planned commercial development. It actually did come forward with rezoning in 2015 to all residential, which was denied by the town, wanting to see some commercial development retained as part of the development overall. This has, with the recent change in the zoning code, this has been updated to a PUD. So that's just a reclassification. Nothing really changes other than that. The approved sketch plan, just talk a little bit about that. Again, on the east side, which is the area we're focusing on, it identified a mix of different types of single family residential, so detached, attached, or townhomes as possibilities, especially in that northern section. A central park area there is in the green. And then on the south, there was lower density, single family detached, and with reducing density as we went to the south with a buffer on the south side. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. The commercial uses and multifamily uses were proposed on the west side of Jackson Creek Parkway. They are not part of this plan today, but they will be coming forward in the future. And altogether in the sketch plan, we had about 14 acres of parks, open space and trails. So just to focus a little bit on the area that is on the east side. So we have areas that, as I said, on the south side, the density was 1 to 3 units per acre, which was generally consistent with the 1.5 unit per acre density of Woodmore Greens. And then as we move north, we gradually increased in density. So the yellow area is 3 to 5 units per acre, again, generally consistent with the village centre development to the east. And then moving forward into that lighter peachy colour area, that was 5 to 8 units per acre, and then a higher density adjacent to Jackson Creek. In this plan on the east side, we propose 1.6 acre park, the green area in the centre, and then 3.5 acres open space and trails around the perimeter and on the south side. So this is the plan we have before you today. We have 3 different types of development, all residential with different densities. So on the south side of Phase A, in the white is an area that is lower density at 1.5 units per acre. And then moving up into the yellow area, still part of Phase A, is 4.2 units per acre. On the east side, we have a higher density single family detached product, which is coming in at about 7.5 units per acre. And then in Phase C, it's an attached product, so single family attached, 2 units attached with a common wall, and that is at 6.5 units per acre. A total of 204 units on this parcel, and we have a 3 acre park, which is centralized but elongated in the middle and between phases B and C. We have also 4.5 acres of open space and trails around the perimeter, and almost a mile of trails. So a couple of things, so looking at a comparison between what the sketch plan approved and what we're proposing today. So on that south side of Phase A, we have a 1.5 unit per acre, as I noted, in an area that was identified as 1 to 3 units per acre. So we're right in the middle there. Phase A, the second portion of it in the yellow, we're at 4.2 units per acre, which is within the range allowed on the sketch plan. And similarly, Phase B is within the range allowed in the sketch plan, and actually Phase C is a little less. So we had a range of allowed residential units on the sketch plan from, if you took the low end of 153 up to the high end of 248. And we are coming in now with this preliminary final plan at 204 units, so right in the middle of what was allowed. We are actually providing a lot more park space than was originally anticipated, almost double, and more open space and more trails. One of the most significant things, I think, from an access point of view that's different with the plan we're proposing versus the submittal of the sketch plan is, as you can see on the east side, those two black arrows, we're proposing access, one from Norwood Drive and one from White Marble on the south side. And we have deleted the access to White Marble. That was fairly contentious with some of the neighbours in that area at the time. It is much more of a residential street, whereas Norwood is a collector with no direct lot access off it. With reviewing the plans, we decided that not only did we not need that access to service the southern part of the development, but that it would be a better relationship for those neighbours. So this is going to start talking about traffic a little bit here. So a little comparison between what was originally zoned for commercial, when it was originally zoned for commercial, what the traffic would have been versus the approved sketch plan and what we're proposing today. So for the entirety of Monument Junction, if you'd taken commercial zoning across the whole site, you'd be looking at almost 18,000 trips a day. With the approved sketch plan, that was reduced to just over 7,000, and the currently planned uses are a little more than the sketch plan anticipated, but in that ballpark, they're not significantly more, just a slightly different uses that are now anticipated, primarily on the west side. And the original commercial zoning on the east side would have been 10,700 trips a day, and we are significantly reducing that by only just over 1,900. So the traffic that would be generated on the east side is significantly less than with that prior commercial zoning. And that was a point we made when we rezoned the property and got the sketch plan approved last year. So description, Debbie touched on some of these. I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail. First of all, some overarching aspects of the proposed road improvements, then a little bit more detail of what's been proposed. So there is a plan to widen Jackson Creek Parkway north of Higby Road all the way to 105. This overall plan is the responsibility of the town, and the design is underway. So the town is kind of taking responsibility for that overall design. However, the applicant, developer in this case, is going to be improving Jackson Creek Parkway from that first northern full movement intersection on the property, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, to Jackson Creek Parkway into its ultimate condition. And the applicant will be posting financial assurances with the very first final plat with this plan to pay for those improvements in their entirety. And that will, like I say, that will kick in with phase A of this phase. And the cost of these improvements, when we did the original analysis of the traffic generated by this development compared to the traffic already on the road and projected to be on the roads for the traffic study looks 20 years ahead, this development accounted for approximately 20% of that traffic. So the improvements that the applicant is actually proposing to do with this plan is far in excess of the 20%. So it's well more than its fair share of the 20% increase in traffic that Jackson Creek Parkway will see because of this development. So describing those improvements in a little bit more detail, I'm sure you're all very familiar with this intersection, so hopefully it will have some context for you. So the first improvement that was requested, or probably the primary one from CDOT particularly, is as you go eastbound on 105 and turn south on Jackson Creek Parkway, they have asked for a deceleration lane and a free right turn at that point. So you will be able to turn freely rather than currently now you're stuck behind the traffic, which it goes straight on. So there will be a free right turn to go south. Also in the northbound direction, that will change to a dual north-left turn lane. So there will be 2 left turn lanes going north onto 105 in a westerly direction. And the right turn lane will be extended. One of the problems now is there is a right turn lane, but it really isn't long enough, so it gets blocked by the traffic turning left and backs up. So we're extending all those lanes south and introducing a dual northbound left turn, which will significantly improve traffic flow in that direction. In addition, we will be providing a southbound right turn deceleration into the first access point onto the west side of the project. And then on 105, the westbound at the signal will be restriped to accommodate dual westbound left turn lanes. So as you're coming along 105 to Jackson Creek Parkway and turning south, left onto Jackson Creek Parkway, there will now be 2 left turn lanes to accommodate those turning movements. So those intersection improvements will all be undertaken with this development. And this will be to the ultimate condition that would have been planned for the full widening of Jackson Creek Parkway. Now moving further south to the first full movement intersection. So this full movement intersection is going to be called Fat Tire Drive on both sides. It is from this intersection north that this developer will be improving all the street to all of Jackson Creek Parkway to its ultimate condition. South of this, there will be a transition and interim improvements. So going into the site from the northerly direction, so coming north, traveling southbound to get onto Fat Tire Drive, there will be a left turn, dedicated left turn deceleration lane. There will also be a right turn deceleration lane to turn to the west. And then coming from the south, there will be a north turn lane going to the west as well. So those turning movements will be accommodated by separate lanes to facilitate that movement without interrupting the through traffic. There is, the traffic studies conclude that this intersection is likely to warrant a traffic signal in the short term. So we do anticipate that this intersection will be signalized in the short term. An intersection can't be signalized until it meets traffic warrants, which is a national measure, national gauge as to when signals are required, but based on the traffic generation and the analysis in the traffic report, that will be in fairly short order that those traffic signals will be required. And each of the accesses from the development onto Jackson Creek Parkway will have a 2-lane approach, and that will allow a left turn lane and a shared through and right turn lane. So if you're turning left, you've got a dedicated lane. If you're going straight across Jackson Creek Parkway or right, you're in a shared lane. That's coming out of the development onto Jackson Creek Parkway. And that's the same at both intersections. So moving south, so this is our south intersection, Slopeside Street. All our streets are named after beers, in case you haven't got the theme. So that will incorporate a right turn, so northbound on Jackson Creek Parkway to turn onto Slopeside Street. There will be a dedicated northbound deceleration lane and a northbound left turn lane to the development to the west, and similarly southbound there will be a southbound left turn lane to go into the development, and just north of there is a proposed right in right out as well, which will also have turning lanes to access that intersection. So all these improvements will be interim until the road is widened in that southern section. So that's all the traffic improvements. Moving on to the comprehensive plan, Debbie addressed this in detail. I just want to emphasize that the site is identified as mixed use on the comprehensive plan future land use map. The sketch plan that was approved was found to be consistent with that designation and various other policies in the comprehensive plan, which encourage mixed use and a variety of land uses. We do have the mix not only of different types of residential densities, but also commercial uses, as well as some kind of more civic uses proposed. There are other policies in the plan which acknowledge that residential attached, which is part of this proposal, is an important mix of housing in the town and provides for workforce and more affordable alternative for new homeowners, and that's directly from the comprehensive plan. So the review criteria, as this is a preliminary plan and a final plan combined, there are a lot of review criteria. I haven't tried to list them all here. Some of them are very more objective, and are utilities available? Is water available? Water here will be served by Woodmore Water and Sanitation District, and is there adequate access, and so on. I've focused a little bit more on the subjective ones. We've already talked about consistency with the comprehensive plan. We are providing what we believe to be quality and functional parks, open space and trails. The whole area is connected with a trail system. The parks are consistent with what was proposed on the sketch plan. They will have park facilities to service the residents, and it's going to be owned. Everything's going to be owned and maintained by the Metropolitan District. So that means that everything will be publicly accessible. And there are appropriate use-to-use relationships. We were very careful when we did the sketch plan to make sure that the densities progressed in the same manner as the development to the east, and we've matched that with this plan. So we feel that the densities and the overall type of residential is consistent with the differing types of residential to the east. We looked at the circulation system, as noted. When we initially submitted, we did not have the connection to Norwood Drive. The town, because we knew that had been contentious in the past with some neighbours, but the town specifically asked us to provide that, not just the town staff, but the fire department, because of the importance of connectivity for not only this community, but the community to the east. They now have the ability through this development to get to Jackson Creek Parkway without, and so they have another access or outlet to their a larger development. And we have high quality standards for building architecture and landscaping, and there will be covenants in place through the Metropolitan District. And all the units have adequate off-street parking. The streets all through this development do allow parking on street, but all lots have full driveways and allow for parking, which is one of the criteria. So with that, in summary, we think we are consistent with the sketch plan. In terms of the densities proposed, the total number of units is less than what was allowed in the sketch plan. And on the other hand, our parks and open spaces are more. So we've balanced out the number of homes with the amount of parks and open space. As already noted, the developer is going to construct the ultimate condition for Jackson Creek Parkway from that, from that northern full movement intersection, which you can see on the plan on the right. And that will represent more than its fair share of the 20% of traffic generated from this development. The town is already under design for the widening of Jackson Creek Parkway, and we have been in coordination with the town's traffic engineers, FHU, who are coordinating that effort. The previous connection to White Marble, which was a little contentious, has been removed. And we think that we have met all the review criteria and are consistent with the comprehensive plan. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does the board have any questions for the applicant or staff prior to opening the public hearing? Okay, at this point, we will open the public hearing portion of this item. Mr. Wychulis, do we have anybody online wanting to comment? Okay. Do we have anyone here tonight that would like to comment? Nancy?
Nancy Swearingen, 418 Trailhead Road. My question is, and maybe you can't answer it since the town is working on the widening of Jackson Creek, but it would seem to me that one of the ways to alleviate some of the traffic would to be provide both sidewalks and bike paths to get people to the different areas like Walmart's down the way, Home Depot and all of that. So I was wondering if in the widening of Jackson Creek, was there any provision for bike lanes and sidewalks? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kimball?
Good evening, Kenneth Kimple, 16151 St. Lawrence Way. To answer Nancy's question, yes, in the El Paso County Development Plan, it is required for the sidewalks, bike paths and stuff like that. So if you'd like to see it, I have it here. First, everyone knows that there's known traffic concerns on Jackson Creek Parkway. This has been talked about with its traffic issues for many years, even when I was back on the Planning Commission. Well, prior to this proposal, developments all around the area have caused increased traffic from multiple areas utilizing Jackson Creek. The town does not have the funds to complete the expansion project north of Higby Road. Everyone either sees or deals with the already large volume of traffic going to Lewis Palmer High School, the YMCA, emergency room facilities, that has created the saturation on the road on the north end of Jackson Creek, not to mention the after-school activities or weekend sporting practices and games. Now there's a proposal to build 204 homes on this quarter-mile stretch of Jackson Creek. There was a traffic study done. I consider it not to be finalized because all parties are still working to solve the problem of widening Jackson Creek. Classic did a study in June 15th, 16th, and 21st of 2021. Note June of 2021 when school was out. So I believe the traffic study data is skewed with the appropriate number of vehicles utilizing Jackson Creek Parkway. And a lot of homes have been added since then. Other communities, Pueblo West, Fountain, Colorado Springs are all having developmental issues and solving traffic saturation on roads by holding the development until you build the infrastructure or it's completed, or there is a funded and approved system in place that is going to accurately take care of that, which we don't have. In the El Paso development plan that I have in my hand, which is on the website, Highway 105 is aligned to be widened by 2040 into a 4-lane highway that consisted of roundabouts and traffic lights. This was done with the traffic study, and this is what's going to happen. Mind you, 8,000 vehicles once this build out on the east and west side of Jackson Creek, as they just said. 2,000, it's estimated 10 trips per home. So almost 2,000 just for residential. And that also you have to add the traffic coming from Knollwood through this new development onto Jackson Creek as well. Current peak traffic congestion is the most significant on west of Lake Woodmore Drive. Significant peak hour delays are experienced on the I-25 ramps, Jackson Creek Parkway, Knollwood Drive, Monument Academy access, and Lake Woodmore Drive. This development's only going to increase with this saturation without widening of 105 and Jackson Creek the entire length. It doesn't take a traffic study to already know Jackson Creek Parkway is already saturated on a 2-lane road. There are proposals that are being done that we need to work with the town and the developer, CDOT, and everyone else to see it through. When the president was asked at the town hall meeting held the other month about the increased traffic on Jackson Creek, his answer was, it will only be a small inconvenience. Found that to be incomplete and rude. What I asked the board to do is to hold off on approving this proposed phased development until an updated and accurate traffic study is completed so you can get all the data. Also, an approved and funded road improvement plan is in place. I would like to know how the town is going to pay for widening of Jackson Creek. We've talked about this when I was on the planning commission. We didn't have the money. We were asking for supplemental funds, and that wasn't coming through. So I asked you to collect all the data to make an educated decision before you approve or disapprove this development plan. All I'm asking for is to hold off on developing it until we have everything set in place. I'm not stopping development. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment during this public hearing portion? Mr. Wetchula, still no one online? Okay. Thank you. At this point, we will close the public hearing portion of this item and bring it back to the board for further discussion. Mr. Foreman, will you give us an update on our moving to Widen Jackson Creek?
Mr. Foreman, the design plans are due to be completed this summer to engineered level, and we expect out to construction bid hopefully by the end of 2022, beginning of 2023.
So we should have everything completed and ready to go to bid by 2023. And to answer Mr. Kemple's question, we are still seeking funding for the remaining cost of from the development from Classic Homes all the way to Higby Road.
And if I'm correct, we're working with the county on that.
We are.
Higby, Jackson Creek piece.
Yes, we are. We're working with them on that portion, but we're also working with them on 105 and Jackson Creek Parkway also. We had recently had a meeting to where we had very positive results on funding for that area.
And we also have funding coming through
PPACG, and then there's also funding coming from the federal government. We've already federalized this project, so receiving federal funds for this will be no different than what we have today.
Okay. And it's my understanding that the county and CDOT are already working on Knollwood and 105?
They are. Everything from Knollwood east on 105.
Okay. Additional questions from the board? Comments?
I have a question. So I was at the first stakeholder committee meeting. Megan, when is the next Jackson Creek corridor plan meeting? You know?
Good evening, trustees. Megan Harrington, Town Planning Director, also having some technological issues this evening, so I apologize. I believe it should be April-ish when we have another meeting of the stakeholder group. Maybe, yeah, they're every 2 to 3 months.
Okay, thank you.
Question. So the funding, based on funding, the schedule that's currently in, does it look like we can get it all done in one shot, or will it be done in phases? Like the intersection first, and then I assume that Classic Home is going to widen the area that's in front of their homes that they're building. And then south of that, we have the next section.
Exactly. That's the goal, to be able to do it, that exactly what you just said. At the same time, we're trying to get funding so that as soon as they're completed, we'd be able to complete from the southern end of their property all the way to Higby.
Okay.
Yep.
What are the chances that we don't meet those funding goals? And if we don't, then what?
So I think it's almost 100% that we're going to meet those funding goals. There is a lot of money out there that's going to go towards infrastructure. And so we're applying for those grants. We just received, I think we got another grant from PPACG recently. And so we're attempting to apply for more grants to them. And so I think we'll be fully funded. We won't know how much we need until the design's completed.
And I'm going to bounce in here. Please excuse me. Remember that Classic is also responsible for. They're going to construct all of the improvements at the intersection. So the turn lanes from 105 southbound on the Jackson Creek Parkway, the turn lanes that are headed westbound to southbound on Jackson Creek Parkway, all of the intersection improvements are going to be completed up front as part of what Classic's share of the construction costs would be, so that we get that part out of the way and done, because those are major improvements. And so we know those will be constructed sooner rather than later, with the remainder of the balance of the stretch of Jackson Creek Parkway to Higby. That's where we'll be looking for all of those different grant funding. So I'm just not sure if that came out as strong as it should, that all of those intersection improvements at 105 and Jackson Creek Parkway are completed up front.
Yep. And in addition to that, there's another developer that is south of Classic Homes Development that is going to be coming to the town, and they will have a responsibility to participate in the funding of Jackson Creek Parkway also.
So all the turn lanes that are on the 105 and the changing of the 105 is part of what Classic is going to be doing?
Yeah, and I know that Classic, when you're ready, they have a rebuttal. We can also bring the slide back up that shows the diagram of the improvements to be completed, if that's helpful as well.
So it sounds like we're actually looking for very little area to fund.
I think once we get done, we're in the less than $5 million range.
Okay.
Yep.
If there are no further questions at this time, I'd like to give the applicant a time to, or a moment to rebuttal.
So while Megan is pulling that up, I would like to clarify that to the lady's first question, the section for Jackson Creek Parkway does include sidewalk and bike lanes. And we, as part of our development, are proposing a sidewalk along the western edge of the development between the residential and Jackson Creek Parkway within a landscape tract. So there will be connections for this development throughout. So just to talk to the intersection. So everything you see on here, all the improvements identified are going to be constructed by Classic Homes as part of their first phase of development, and they will be putting up the financial assurances with phase A of this first phase. So these improvements are more than is required to accommodate the traffic that was going to be generated from this phase. In fact, potentially some of them, even the full build out of this development. So some of them would have been triggered at some point, but they are far in excess of what's required to support this development. So in terms of Mr. Kimple's comments about not developing the site until all the improvements of Jackson Creek Parkway from Higby are installed, that seems to me unreasonable, given that the majority of the traffic that's on the road now and the traffic that's added to the existing traffic with this development would not warrant more than what we're proposing today. So these are full build out improvements. I do want to clarify, and Megan, if you can maybe go on to the next. In fact, if you can go on to a slide that has the entire development on it. Probably right, maybe right at the end there. So the circle, it's small scale, but there's a circle at the north end there. That's the first full movement intersection. That is Fat Tire Drive. So from that point north to Jackson Creek Parkway, that is a section that Classic are completing to its full intersection and ultimate conditions. So the ultimate width, the ultimate lane configuration from that intersection to Jackson Creek Parkway. South of there There was some suggestion that it's from the south boundary of the property. That's not the case. So south of there will be interim improvements to provide the necessary turning lanes to get in and out of the development on both sides. But that ultimate widening to its final condition will be part of the town's project. I just wanted to clarify that, just so there's no confusion there that Classic are doing everything adjacent to its development to the full condition. That's not the case. I wanted to talk about the traffic study. Mr. Kimple is correct. The traffic study was originally submitted in June 2021. With traffic counts that were performed in June 2021. It was then updated 2 more times with more recent traffic studies that counted traffic in October of 2021 and in November of 2021, specifically to take into account school traffic and to measure traffic during school times. So those were rolled into revisions to the traffic impact study, which were submitted to the town and presumably on the town's website, is my guess. The more recent traffic study?
We didn't find that, so we are trying to determine what the hold up there was.
Well, they were part of our, we did 2 submittals, so they were part of our resubmittals to the town. So those are specific, basically to address those specific comments and criticisms of the June 2021 accounts that didn't take into account school traffic, weren't during school term time, so additional studies were undertaken. In a nutshell, on the traffic concerns, what we're proposing is going to provide a much better situation than there is today. I think I mentioned some of the improvements which are addressing concerns which exist now, which is the right turn from Highway 105 south onto Jackson Creek Parkway. That's a very difficult turn to make now because it often gets blocked by traffic because it shares a lane with traffic going straight on, and now it will be a free right turn. So that will ease up that traffic movement, as will the extension of the right turn lane onto Highway 105 from Jackson Creek Parkway. So going north on Jackson Creek, turning east on 105, that lane will be extended, and there will also be dual left lanes in that same direction, turning left and west onto Highway 105. I think, as mentioned, the county have already approved plans for the widening of 105 east of Norwood, so those improvements are being undertaken. And we will be widening or restriping lanes on 105 to allow for that left turn from 105 onto Jackson Creek Parkway. So there will be a degree of widening at that point as well. So all these changes will make the intersection of 105 and Jackson Creek Parkway function much better. And that is the main sticking point, I think, for most people on this stretch of road, is that especially the backing up of traffic during school time. So all that was analysed over a 20-year horizon, which is fairly standard for traffic studies. And again, the improvements that are being proposed exceed what's required for this project. And they're my rebuttal points. I think they were mainly traffic and the sidewalk. So unless you have any questions for me.
Any additional questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
Okay. At this point, I'll bring it back to the board for either further discussion or a motion.
Well, I think with Mr. Foreman's certainty, or high degree of certainty, let me say it that way, that we'll be getting funding. I see no reason to delay this because of, the issue with the widening. I think we're on track, and I think it would slow things down. So I move resolution number 21-2022, a resolution approving a preliminary final plat unit development for Monument Junction Phase 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan, will you take roll, please?
Trustee Shaning?
No.
Trustee LeKind?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes. That motion passes 3-0. Excuse me, 3-1. Item number 5B, resolution adopting a Town of Monument 3-mile plan. Ms. Harrington.
Good evening, Mayor, trustee members. For the record, Megan Harrington, Planning Director. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation for you this evening because this is a pretty simple request. State statute requires that the town update the 3-mile land use plan annually. And our 3-mile land use plan is actually the annexation growth map from the comprehensive plan. Annually, the town should be just documenting the annexations that have occurred within the year and then adding those annexation areas to that map, which is included in your packet. And so the item before you this evening is a resolution just to do exactly that. You've approved a handful of annexations in 2021 through 2022. Just to be on the safe side, staff reconciled all annexations from 2017 through 2022 to ensure that those were accurately depicted on the annexation map from the comprehensive plan that gets attached to the resolution. And then that should be completed every year based on just truing up the maps from the annexations that you've approved throughout the year. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, is there any questions for staff on this item? Okay, this is also a public hearing item. Is there anyone here in person that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none. Mr. Wychulis, do we have anyone online that would like to comment? Okay. Then I will close the public hearing portion of this item and look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 22 of 2022, a resolution adopting the Town of Monument 3-mile plan for 2022.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Stevens,
Yes.
Trustee LeKind,
Yes.
Trustee Shaning,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes. That motion passes 4-0. Item 6A, amendments to Chapter 18 Landamel Development. Ms. Harrington.
Good evening again, Mayor and trustee members. This item is just a carry forward from the previous meeting. There was discussion from the trustees that you would like to hold a workshop. I believe this evening did not work for the workshop, so staff is looking for guidance on when you would like to hold the workshop and any additional input or direction to staff on how you would like that workshop set up. From my perspective, unless I hear differently from you, I would come prepared with some slides to walk through the proposed changes, kind of try to summarize the comments that we've heard on each proposed change, gather input from you in order to determine next steps. I would also let you know that the Falcon Commerce Center developer has submitted informally, they have not made their formal submittal, but they have submitted to staff a draft preliminary PUD plan that includes design standards specifically for Falcon Commerce Center. So we talked about this a couple weeks ago with these larger developers submitting these proposals with standards independent for their properties. That sets us in the next step for negotiating through the PUD plan, and staff will continue to do that. But we do have another one of those submittals that actually has been made. So I'll take my direction from the trustees as to when the workshop should occur and what you would like to discuss, how staff can assist.
Would the board like to move this to the April 4th meeting? Okay. Is there any comments that or direction you would like to give Ms. Harrington in preparation for that meeting?
I know we discussed in the last meeting some things that we would like to explore, like Trustee Stevens wanted to look at semi-trucks, and I agree with that. I want to explore that issue as well as overnight parking, any types of subsidized projects, hours of loading and unloading, and also some limitations on the number of square feet per loading dock and the percentage of distribution space, metal buildings, and shipping containers.
I believe some of that is already in the draft. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And would your workshop be the 5:30, the before hour?
Yes.
Then I assume? Okay.
Yes, so 5:30. Yes.
I know that I had a separate discussion with our town manager regarding subsidized projects. I don't know where we should look at that, or if the other trustees are on board. But if we can explore that, I think that's something that I would like to explore.
Okay. Will you add that to our April 4th workshop, Mr. Foreman or Mr.?
So I will let Mr. Foreman address that. I'm going to go out on a limb here and just say that piece is out of the scope of the industrial design standard discussion. So I would start with the original request, which was look at the industrial design. And if you get to that part, we could have some initial conversations.
Can I get some more? I'd like to get some direction for what are you looking for on this? What path do you want me to look forward to?
Why don't we make that a discussion between you guys to clarify?
Okay.
And for now, we'll stick to the industrial design standards for this workshop. If you guys come up with something that requires another workshop, then we'll move forward on that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think Trustee LeCond and I were kind of exploring some of the overnight parking issues in a separate manner as well. So.
Okay.
Okay.
So that is now scheduled for April 4th workshop, 5:30 to 6:30. Ms. Harrington, do you feel you have your direction?
Absolutely, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Takes us to item 7, public comment. Do we have anybody in the public who would like to make comment this evening? Mr. Waichulis, do we have anyone online that would like to make public comment? Okay. Takes us to board authorization items. We have a authorization for Proclamation Child Abuse Prevention Month. Is the board okay with that coming forth in the next meeting? Okay. Ms. Hogan, do you have other board authorization items?
I do. The chamber would like to, you originally had allowed them to present on April 4th, and they would like to push that off to May 2nd or May 16th.
Does the board have any qualms with those? Okay.
Do you have a preference with either of those meetings?
No, I would direct that Mike look at the meeting schedule.
I won't be here May 16th. I'll be in the middle of the New Mexican desert someplace with Wi-Fi. So it could be presented while I'm remote. That's fine.
And then lastly, the Silver Lakes, or the Tri-Lakes Silver Alliance would like to give a presentation to the board, perhaps on April 4th or April 18th, if that doesn't work.
Can we move that one for April 18th?
Sure.
Is that good?
And that's all I had.
I would like to add a board authorization item. Ms. Harrington and Ms. Hogan, can we come forth next meeting, April 4th, with what seats we have open as far as BOA? So we can appoint those, and any boards or committees that our board members currently serve on that may become vacant next meeting. We would like to get those seats filled. As far as appointment to the board, I think we should follow the same procedure we followed last time, if that's okay with everyone. Okay. So you good with that? Okay. Do any other board members have any authorization items they would like to add to our future agendas? We'll get that in board comments. It was just kind of a discussion piece. So that takes us to Board of Trustee comments. We do have a proposed proclamation in support of the Ukraine from Trustee LeKind. We printed off copies so that the board would have a chance to review it. I am fine with it. We should probably check it for typos. I think we bring this forward at an upcoming meeting. Or we can go ahead and prove it and just have it polished up by staff for publishing if it's just a proclamation.
I think we should put it on an agenda like we normally do for all of our proclamations.
Okay.
And let it be, let people know about it.
It's excellently written. I've read through it and I can't find anything that I would change.
Yeah, there was lots of examples.
Okay. So no changes. Okay. Ms. Hogan, will you bring this forward as a proclamation for the April 4th meeting?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other Board of Trustee comments?
Yeah, I have a quick little story I want to tell here. My wife and I decided to get another mattress yesterday, so we went into Colorado Springs. I know sounds crazy, but I have a point for the town. So we went to Colorado Springs to buy the mattress, and so he said, "Oh, we're out of stock, but we'll deliver it for free." And so then I said, "Okay." So I gave him my address, and he typed in my address, and he says, "Oh, you just saved $50." And I said, "What, you giving discounts to citizens that are in the town of Monument?" And he says, "No, your taxes are that much lower that you're saving $50 for your mattress." And so I was thinking about that, and I said, well, if our citizens knew that if you could go to Colorado Springs and you can go to Castle Rock and you ask for, do they do delivery, that will put the taxes into the town of Monument, and the money that you save will pay for the delivery charge. So I just thought that was an interesting thought there.
When are you getting your new mattress?
It's coming, well, it's back ordered, so we got it.
It'll be his Christmas present.
Couple of weeks.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I was reminded that on the 18th, we have a presentation from the Home Rule Charter Commission.
We do.
So we watch how much stuff we put on the 18th.
We are.
Okay. Okay. If there are no other comments, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.